Welcome to today class of nonlinear vibration. So, in today class we are going to study about the development of equation of motion for continuous systems. So, this equation of motion will derived using D'Alembert principle and extended Hamilton principle. Later I will tell you how to use this generalized Galerkin method to develop the temporal equation of motion. So, as you know, in case of distributed mass system or continuous system, the governing equation of motion will be that of a partial differential equation, unlike in case of the discrete system. In case of discrete system, we have this we have the ordinary differential equation of motion, but in case of this continuous system, we will have the partial differential equation of motion, or we may have integral differential equation of motion. So, today class will derive the equation of motion for the continuous system, and this derivation will be carried out by using some examples. So, where the D'Alembert principle and extended Hamilton principle will be used to derive those equations. So, before deriving these equation of motion for the continuous system, so first we will start deriving the equation for a simple beam under bending. So, simple bending of beam by using the Euler-Bernoulli beam equation. So, first we will derive this equation of motion, and by using this equation of motion, then we will derive the equation motion for the nonlinear vibration of some beams. So, till now in case of the discrete systems, we have studied different type of nonlinear equations, or the equation of motion what we have derived till now can be categorized into these types. One is Duffing type of equation, other one is this van der Pol equation, and third one is Hills equation and Matthew equation. So, in case of Duffing equation, we can have a cubic nonlinear term, or the nonlinearity can be also of higher order. So, for free vibration, this forcing term can be taken to be 0, and in case of force vibration, we can consider a forcing term. Also, this forcing term can be considered as a strong forcing, in which this epsilon so will be of the order of 1, and or it can be a weak nonlinear system or weak forcing system, in which this forcing is of the order of epsilon. Similarly, in case of the van der Pol equation, we can have a equation of this type x double dot plus x equal to mu into 1 minus x square into x dot. And in case of Hills equation, the simplest type of equation we can have is x double dot plus pt x equal to 0, where this pt, this periodically time varying term, is coefficient of the response x. So, if this pt can be written in this form, that is delta plus 2 epsilon cos 2 omega cos 2 t, then this equation is known as Matthew equation. So, Hills equation will reduce to that of Matthew equation when pt equal to delta plus 2 epsilon cos 2 t, where delta can be written equal to omega n square, that is square of the natural frequencies. So, for discrete systems, we have derived these equations, where you can see all these equations are that of ordinary differential equation. But in case of the distributed mass system or continuous system, so we will find the equation which are of partial differential equation of motion, because they are function, the displacement or the space or the state vector are function of both space and time. So, let us first derive the equation motion for Euler-Bernoulli beam. So, in case of a Euler-Bernoulli beam, so let us consider a beam. So, if the beam is subjected to only bending, the beam is subjected to only bending, then if it is pure bending, then this equation of motion what we will get is known as Euler-Bernoulli beam equation. So, let us take a small element. So, this beam is subjected to moment m. So, if you take a small element, let us take a very small element, then in this small element, so left side of this let us have shear force V, then this side the shear force is V plus delta V, then the moment is m, and this side the moment is m plus delta m. And if we are considering the loading per unit length equal to Px, let Px is the loading per unit length of this on this beam, then so if the loading is Px per unit length, so here the loading for the small element dx, so this is the small element dx, so the loading can be written as Px into dx. So, in this case, if we can take the, we can do the force balance, then we can have this relation. So, by doing this force balance we can write, so V plus dV minus V will be equal to Px dx. So, one can write this dV by dx. So, we can have this relation dV by dx equal to Px, that is the change of shear force with length equal to the loading per unit length. Similarly, by taking moment about any point in the this side or this side, let us take the right side, then one can have. So, if we take the moment about this side, then V into dx, V into dx plus m will be equal to P into dx. This is the force and it is acting at a distance of dx by 2. So, in this case one can write the equation to be, so dm minus, so in this case the resulting equation will be dm minus v dx minus half px into dx square equal to 0. So, for the limiting case one can write, so dm by dx, so dm by dx will be equal to v. So, this means the change of bending moment equal to the shear force, rate of change of moment along the beam is equal to the shear force. So, if one so from the elementary strength of material one know for pure bending, this m by I equal to sigma by y equal to E by R. So, where m is the bending moment, I is the moment of inertia, sigma is the source, sigma is the stress and y is the distance from the neutral axis, E the Young's modulus and R is the radius of curvature. So, 1 by R one can write this 1 by R equal to d square. So, if you are taking, let y is the deflection. So, due to this bending, let y at any distance x is the deflection of the beam. So, in that case 1 by R can be written equal to d square y by dx square. So, for large curvature one can write this 1 by R equal to d square y by dx square by 1 plus dy by dx whole square to the power 3 by 2. So, one may note that for large curvature, if one take this denominator to the numerator part, and expand that thing, then one will get a nonlinear equation. But for small oscillation or small displacement, one can take this radius of curvature or 1 by r equal to d square y by dx square. By taking this in this equation, so one can write this m equal to, so one can write m equal to E I d square y by dx square. So, till now we have not considered the time, but in actual case this y is a function of both x and time. So, one should write, instead of writing m equal to E I d square y by dx square, so one should write m equal to E I del square y by del x square, because y is a function of both time and space coordinate x. So, now by differentiating this m twice, so already we know this dm by dx equal to v and dv by dx equal to px. So, differentiating m twice, one can get the rate of loading. So, differentiating this equation twice, so one can have this d square or del square by del x square E I del square y by del x square equal to px. Now, for this vibrating beam, so this rate of loading will be equal to the inertia force. So, the inertia force equal to mass of that element into the acceleration, and it takes place in a direction opposite to that of acceleration. So, this px can be written as, so one can have this px equal to minus m. So, this is mass per unit length and or mass of that element into d square y by or del square y, rather one can write del square y by del t square. So, del square y by del t square is the acceleration, m is the mass, and it takes place in a direction opposite to that of the acceleration. So, the equation becomes del square by del x square into E I del square y by del x square plus m del square y by del t square equal to 0. So, this is the Euler-Bernoulli beam equation. So, here if the E I term, that is product of Young's modulus and moment of inertia, or which is known as the flexural rigidity of the system, is changing, then one can write this equation in this form, but if it is constant, then this equation can be reduced to this form. So, it is E I del fourth y by del x fourth plus m del square y by del t square equal to 0. So, this is the Euler-Bernoulli beam equation one can obtain. So, if one take large deflection, so in that case this 1 by r will be replaced by del square y by del x square by 1 plus del y by del x whole square to the power 3 by 2, and one can expand this term by taking this thing to numerator and have a non-linear equation. So, let us first solve this linear equation, or let us see what is the importance of this equation or how it can be solved. So, one can take the variable separation method. So, by considering y equal to, let one consider this y equal to psi x into q t. So, where psi x is the shape function and q t is the time modulation. So, if one substitute in this equation, then this equation can be reduced to, so it is E I d fourth psi. So, it will be d fourth psi by d x fourth into q t. So, for this is a function of psi only, x is a function of psi. So, differentiation of psi into qt plus m. So, this is a function of time, this del square y by del t square. So, q will be differentiated with respect to time and psi will remain like that. So, it will be m del square q by del d square q by m psi into d square q by dt square equal to 0. Now, separating the terms or time terms into one side and space term to the other side, one can write. So, one can write this way. So, it will be E I d fourth psi by dx fourth divided by this m psi. It will be equal to minus d square q by dt square divided by q. So, this is, so one can see that the left side is a function of space coordinates and right side is a function of time. So, as they are equal, so they should be equal to a constant, and this constant will be nothing but equal to omega square, because this d square y by dt square is acceleration term and q is the displacement, and in this case acceleration is proportional to displacement, and this constant of proportionality is nothing but the square of the natural frequency. So, one can write this d square q by dt square by qt equal to omega square, or this equation by taking only this part one can write, or the motion is simple harmonic. So, from this one can write this qt equal to, or qt can be written in this form, a sin omega t. So, one can put a sin omega t plus phi, where a and phi can be obtained from the initial condition. Now, from the other part, so one can write this d fourth psi by dx fourth equal to m omega square by E I, m omega square by E I into psi, or it can be written as d fourth psi by dx fourth minus beta fourth psi equal to 0. So, where one can take this m omega square. So, one can take this m omega square by E I equal to beta fourth, and from this one can find this omega square equal to E I by m into beta fourth, or omega equal to beta square into root over E I by m, or if one multiply L, so this omega can be written as, so omega can be written as beta square L square root over E I by rho L fourth. And one can so from this equation one can find the expression for psi, that is the shape function for different boundary conditions. For example, let us take the simply supported case. So, in simply supported case, so for the simply supported case, the boundary conditions are the displacement and slope are 0 at x equal to 0 and x equal to L. So, in this case the general solution will be, so the auxiliary equation, so for d fourth psi by dx fourth minus beta fourth psi equal to 0, the auxiliary equation becomes d fourth minus beta fourth equal to 0, or d square plus beta square into d square minus beta square equal to 0, or D will be equal to plus minus I beta, and so this will give, so it will be, or it will be plus minus beta. So one can get 4 root, and from these 4 roots one can find the general solution for psi x. So general solution for psi x can be written. So when it is plus minus I beta, so the solution will be harmonic, and when it is plus minus beta, the solution will be hyperbolic. So one can write the solution. So psi x will be equal to A cos beta x plus, or A1 cos beta x, A2 sin beta x plus A3 cos hyperbolic beta x plus A4 sin hyperbolic beta x. So this is the general solution, and one can find the specific solution for different boundary conditions. For example, in case of this simply supported case, so the boundary conditions are at x equal to 0, psi x will be equal to 0, and the bending moment also will be equal to 0. So in case of fixed boundary condition, boundary condition, the slope and displacement will be 0 for both the ends. And in case of the cantilever beam, so in case of a cantilever beam, the left side fixed side, the displacement and slopes are 0, and in case of the right side which is free, the bending moment and shear force are 0. So by using these boundary conditions, so one can find the solution or the general solution for the shape function. So for example, in case of the simply supported case, so one can obtain the fast mode. So one can obtain the fast mode like this. So displacement will be 0 at both the ends. So similarly for the second mode, so there will be a node formation here. So the displacement will be like this, and similarly for second mode there will be 2 nodes, and in case of fixed the fast mode will be, so there will be slope and displacement 0 at both the ends. So it will be of this type, and in case of the second mode, so there will be a node here, and for third mode there will be 2 nodes. So the purpose of studying this linear equation for the beam vibration is to apply this concept to the nonlinear vibration, or for deriving the nonlinear governing equation for the nonlinear systems, nonlinear beam system. So let us consider a nonlinear vibration problem. So now we will use this D'Alembert principle to derive the equation motion. So in this case, so let us take this example. So we show a Cartesian manipulator with a payload, or which can be modeled as a cantilevered beam where the left end is roller supported and which can move up and down, and let us consider the large transverse vibration of the beam. So as we have seen before, so in case of the large vibration, so this m can be written, instead of writing m equal to ei del square y by del x square, one can write that equation in this form. So this moment at any section S, so if you take the moment at a distance x, let us take it at a distance S. So then, so this will be written as ei del square v by del s square plus half del v by del s whole square into del square v by del s square. So here some terms have been neglected and one can get this equation. So now this bending moment at any section also can be written in terms of the forces. So, for example, if you take a section here, the section is subjected to inertia force. So, let us consider if u is the displacement along the axial direction and v is the displacement along the transverse direction, then for this section, so it will be mass of this element into u double dot, that will be inertia force in axial direction, and so inertia force for this element we can have this inertia force in this axial direction. Similarly, we can have the inertia force in the vertical direction, that will be m into del square v by del t square. So, taking those inertia forces, so we can find the moment, or we can so at a distance zeta. So, one can write this, one can find this bending moment. Also for this, first we can find for a single element, then we can find for the entire beam by integrating that. Also one can find the moment due to this end load. So, let m is the mass for this end load. So, in that case one can consider the inertia force due to this end mass, and one can find the bending moment. So, that is represented that by ml. So, now one can write this ms equal to m zeta plus ml, or ms minus m zeta minus ml equal to 0. So, here zeta eta. So, if one consider this inextensibility condition, so that means the beam is not extendable during its vibration, or the length remain constant. So, one can achieve this relation where del square del v by del s whole square plus 1 plus del u by del s whole square equal to 1. That means the length remain constant. If we are considering the length to be constant, then one can have this inextensibility condition, or in other word one can write this longitudinal displacement in terms of the transverse displacement using this relation. So, now taking the inertia force. So, inertia force will be due to this axial displacement, due to vertical displacement, and also due to the displacement of the support. So, here the support is moving with a excitation y b equal to z cos omega t. So, this is an example just we are taking. So, in this case then the inertia force will be rho u double dot, where rho is the length for where rho is the mass per unit length, a is the area of cross section, u is the axial displacement. So, u double dot is the acceleration in the axial direction, and in vertical direction we have two acceleration. So, one is due to this base motion and other one is due to the displacement of the beam in vertical direction, that is v from the initial position. So, this acceleration will be rho a v double dot plus y b double dot, and now using D'Alembert principle, so one can write this expression. So, ms minus m zeta s minus m l s equal to 0. So, to recall this D'Alembert principle, so one can write, so let m is the mass of the system. So, it is subjected to an external force F and there is acceleration A. So, in this case the D'Alembert principle can be written as the summation of the external forces plus the inertia forces equal to 0. So, here external force is F and inertia force equal to mass into acceleration, which acts in a direction opposite to that of acceleration. So, in this case, so this is the direction, if this is the direction of acceleration, so inertia force act in this direction. So, that is m into a, and this can be written as F I. So, one can have the summation of, so this force plus F I will be equal to 0. So, this is D'Alembert principle. So, external force plus the inertia force equal to 0. So, by taking all these forces, so one can write the equation motion. So, now this m zeta, so at a section zeta at a dummy distance zeta from the base. So, by taking the moment one can write m zeta s equal to, so first one can find for the small element. So, for the element one can find this, and then for the whole beam it will be s to L, integration s to L. So, then this m zeta s equal to minus integration s to L rho a u double dot integration s to zeta sin theta d eta d zeta, where eta zeta are dummy variable. So, this is due to axial load or axial force, and due to this vertical force one can find. Similarly, it will be equal to integration s to L rho a v double dot plus y b double dot integration s to zeta cos theta d eta d zeta. So, one can easily find that thing. So, where theta is the angle between, so this angle is theta. So, when taking the moment, so one can taking the moment about this point, so one can have this cos component and sin component. So, for axial and for vertical, but when one takes the moment, so then it can be written in this form. Similarly, this MLS, that is due to the tip load. So, one can write this equation MLS will be equal to, this is the bending moment due to the tip load. So, this will be equal to minus mu double dot integration s to L sin theta d zeta minus m. So, this is due to the axial, this is due to the vertical direction inertia force, and this is due to the axial direction inertia force, and finally, one can write this equation in this form. So, here one may note that this u has been replaced by this u term has been replaced by this v term using this inextensibility condition. So, if one use this inextensibility condition and differentiate this equation twice, differentiate the equation this twice, where ms equal to m zeta s plus mls. So, one can obtain this equation. So, where this ei del fourth v by del s fourth plus half del square plus half del v by del s whole square into del square del fourth v by del s fourth plus 3 into, so this becomes v s, that is differentiation once, differentiation with respect to space coordinate s, then v s s, v triple s. So, where this s represent del by del s. So, one can note in case of the Euler beam equation, we have only the simple term ei del fourth v by del s fourth, this term plus m v double dot equal to 0. Now, by taking this large displacement or large curvature into account in this vibration, one can obtain this equation in this form, where many nonlinear terms are coming into picture. So, these terms are nonlinear terms. So, these are nonlinear terms where this product of two displacement terms are there. So, all these terms are nonlinear terms. Okay, so this is also a nonlinear term, this term is nonlinear, and these terms are also nonlinear, but one may note this term. So, where one can find this coefficient of v s square equal to v double dot plus y b double dot, y b double dot, this y b is written, that is the base acceleration of the base motion. So, this y b, if one represent this y b by z cos omega t, that means if the base is moving periodically, then in this case, so this periodic motion is a coefficient of the displacement. As this term is coefficient of the displacement, then this equation is known as a parametrically, that of a parametrically excited system. So, in addition to that, so one can see this term also. so in which these term, so this will give rise to a forcing term. So, one can have a force and parametrically excited system in this case. So, as an assignment, so one can take the system. So, let the same cantilever beam is subjected to an magnetic field. So, in this case how to determine the equation motion. So, in this case also one can consider the effect due to this magnetic field. If one take a small element on this beam, if this beam is a conducting material or magnetoelastic material, then it will be subjected to a magnetic load in axial direction, and in addition to that it is experiencing a couple. So, one has to take this force and couple in addition to the inertia force acting at a distance s from the base of the beam. So, by taking all those forces into account and by applying this D'Alembert principle, one can obtain the equation motion. So, in this case the equation motion will be of this type, in which only two terms one can observe that there are two terms, one is this P, one contains this P term. So, P is due to the loading due to this magnetic field, axial loading due to magnetic field, and one can find another term, the C, this is the couple due to this magnetic field. So, one can have a force and a couple. So, including the inertia forces acting at an element, one can derive the equation motion in a similar way. So, now this equation or the previous equation what we have derived. So, in this case this V is a function of both space and time. So, like in case of our simple Euler-Bernoulli beam, so we have separated the variable by using this variable separation method. Here also similarly one can separate the variables, that is the time and the space coordinates, by using this generalized Galerkin principle. So, in this generalized Galerkin principle, so one can take this V, as a function of a scaling factor R into psi I s and q I t. So, where I equal to 1 to n. So, instead, so as a continuous system has infinite degrees of freedom. So, instead of considering all the degrees of freedom, one can truncate or one can consider only few modes for this analysis purpose. So, one can limit this n to a few mode and then perform this analysis. So, by taking this n, let for example taking n equal to 1, one can take the single mode approximation, and if one take n equal to 2, then it will be 2 mode approximation, and if one take n equal to 3, then it will be 3 mode approximation. So, here R is known as the scaling factor. So, one can use a scaling factor R. So, generally the scaling factor is used to order the coefficient of the equation motion, and psi s is the shape function and q t is the time modulation of the ith mode. So, this I represent the ith mode. So, if one consider this psi as the eigenfunction of the system, then these eigenfunctions are orthogonal. So, one can take the psi as either eigenfunction or comparison function or an admissible function. So, in case of the eigenfunction, the shape function satisfy both the boundary condition and the governing differential equation. So, this is eigenfunction. So, eigenfunction satisfy both equation motion and differential equation motion and the boundary conditions, and this comparison function satisfy only the, so it satisfy only the boundary conditions. So, all the boundary conditions it satisfy, but it does not satisfy the equation motion, and this admissible function satisfy only the geometric boundary condition. So, it satisfy only geometric boundary condition. So, in case of this continuous system, we have two different types of boundary conditions. One is the geometric boundary condition and other one is the force boundary condition or natural boundary condition. For example, in case of this fixed beam, so we have both geometric boundary conditions, as at both ends the displacement and slopes which are geometric term are 0, but in case of this cantilever beam, the left end we have this geometric boundary condition, but in the right end we have the force boundary condition. So, in case of right end we have this shear force and bending moment equal to 0. So, both shear force and bending moments are force boundary conditions. So, in case of the cantilever beam, so if one take the admissible function, so one has to take a function which satisfy only the geometric boundary condition, that is, it has to satisfy the displacement and slope at x equal to 0 equal to 0. Similarly, in case of a fixed beam, so one has to consider a function where both displacement and slope are 0 at x equal to 0 and at x equal to L. But in case of a simply supported beam, so in case of a simply supported beam, so one can consider the geometric boundary condition only. So, in that case the displacement at both the ends equal to 0. The force boundary condition becomes the bending moment equal to 0 at the left end and also at the right end. But for simpler geometric conditions like the simply supported, clamped free or cantilever or fixed, as the eigenfunctions are easily available. So, one can take those eigenfunctions easily for the analysis purpose, and also one can use the orthogonality property of these eigenfunctions to find the governing temporal equation motion of the system. So, for example, in this case by substituting V equal to R psi s and Q by T. So, if we will apply the Galerkin method, so one can apply the Galerkin method and one can reduce this equation to that of the temporal form, where the equation in space and time is written only in terms of the time coordinate, that is q or time modulation, and the space part becomes the coefficient of that term. So, by taking a known shape function or by taking the known eigenfunction of the system, so one can easily find these coefficients and one can convert these equation in space and time to that of the temporal form. So, by to apply the Galerkin method, so let us consider this equation. So, this equation, in this equation by substituting V equal to, so if one substitute V equal to, let us take only a single mode. So, if one substitute V equal to psi x and q t, and if psi is not a function which is satisfying the differential equation of motion, then there will be some residue left in the equation. So, that by substituting that equation we will not get this left side equal to 0. So, there will be certain residue in this equation, and our aim should be to minimize that residue. So, to minimize that residue, so we can minimize that residue by integrating over the whole length. So, this is the residue, and let us multiply this psi ith or psi and integrate it over this domain. So, now you equate to 0. So, this will reduce this equation, in space and time to that of in time domain. For example, let us take only one term and see how it can be reduced. So, let us take this first term, that is E I del fourth V by del S fourth. So, if you integrate that thing by substituting V equal to R psi S and Q T. So, then this becomes, so E I. So, we have to differentiate it fourth time. So, this becomes R. So, this becomes del fourth, or now it is d fourth psi. So, this becomes d fourth psi by d s fourth into q t into. So, we have to multiply the psi into d s. So, if we are taking psi is a function of s, then it will be d s instead of d x, it can be of d s. So, now by integrating this term, so one can write integration 0 to L E I R d fourth psi by d s fourth into psi d s into q t. So, this term become the coefficient of q t. So, here one can divide this term throughout these terms and get the coefficient equal to 1. So, in this way, by taking the terms term by term, one can convert this spatio-temporal equation to that of a temporal equation. And one can note that in this temporal equation, so this time varying term is a function of, is a coefficient of q. So, this is a parametrically excited system. So, this is a linear parametric excited term, but here this time varying term is a function, is a coefficient of a nonlinear term, that is q dot into q square. So, this is a nonlinear parametric term. So, in this way one can derive the governing temporal equation motion of the system. So, by using, in this class I told you how one can use this temporal equation, how one can use this D'Alembert principle to derive the equation of motion, and then apply this Galerkin method to convert that governing differential equation or partial differential equation to its temporal form. So, we can see another example also. Let this is a simple cantilever beam with a attached mass, where the attached mass has the point mass is concentrated, the mass is concentrated at this point at a distance d 0 from this end. So, in that case, let us apply a force P equal to P 0 plus P 1 omega 1 t plus P 2 omega 2 t. So, simply using this Euler-Bernoulli equation, one can have these two terms. Then by adding this damping term, one can have this C d V dot term, and one can add this additional term due to this axial loading. So, one can find this governing equation. So, this equation can be, the spatio-temporal equation later can be converted to its temporal form by applying the Galerkin method. So, one can, so in this case these are the boundary condition. So, at the left end at is fixed, so V equal to 0 and the slope also equal to 0. At the right end, so we will have both bending moment and shear force equal to 0. As the bending moment equal to 0, so this E I del square V by del x square will be equal to at the as the mass is concentrated at a distance d0. So, one can take the moment and one can find. So, this will be equal to this, and by differentiating, so one can find the shear force equal to this. So, these are the boundary condition, and taking this V x t equal to this and using this Galerkin method. So, one can find the governing temporal equation motion. So, this is the governing temporal equation of motion, where this omega L and omega S terms can be written in this way, and these are the coefficients, these coefficients can be written in this way. So, today class we have studied about how to derive the equation motion using D'Alembert principle, and by applying this Galerkin method, how we can convert the spatio-temporal equation of motion to that of the temporal equation motion. So, you can take some exercise problems. So, in this exercise problem, so you can derive the equation motion for a sandwich beam, or you can derive the equation motion of some other systems like a cantilever beam, base excited cantilever beam, where the base motion can be given by z1 cos omega t and z2 cos omega 2 t. So, in this case it will be subjected to two frequency excitation. You can take multi frequency excitation also, and you can derive the equation motion, and also you can derive the equation motion of a sandwich beam, where this middle layer, middle viscoelastic layer, you can take to contain a MRE part, that is magneto-rheological elastomer part. So, by applying this magnetic field, so you can have this force due to magnetic field and moment due to magnetic field, and taking those force and moment, you can find the equation motion by considering the inertia force in longitudinal and transverse direction for both top and bottom skins. So, next class we will study how to derive this equation motion using energy principles. Thank you.